Good morning, all. Am I audible? Someone please confirm it.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, it's audible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good morning.
Good morning, all. So, welcome to CDP Networks. Yesterday, I believe most of you joined yesterday, so we have set the contest yesterday itself. So, today we will be continuing with this free classes. The next week also we will be having two more free classes. Post that you will be if you want to full courses, then you may need to. Um, So this is we are taking free sessions from the CDP networks for the two couple of weeks. Most yesterday, many of you joined and we have discussed about the um, discussed about the fundamentals of AWS, and that I shown you the roadmap of the certification and other things like how to set up a free tier. All those things yesterday we have discussed. So we are continuing with the same thing today. We are talking about the account security, and then the next week maybe we will be having one more service which is a EC2 and auto scaling, which we are going to discuss. Okay, so the any new joiners, please go through the yesterday sessions recording where we have discussed about the fundamentals of AWS and all fundamentals how the AWS infrastructure has been built over across the world. All those things has been discussed in yesterday's session. In case if you need a recording or if you need any further support, please comment it in the WhatsApp group where we can take it forward. From there we can take it forward. The team will take it forward. In case if you are interested in a paid services, you can reach out the support team for it as well, right? Shall we jump into the session, guys?
Yes.
Yep. So any doubts from the yesterday's session, like any doubts from the yesterday's session, like what we discussed, like how many of you created AWS account? Okay, so I believe many would have created an AWS account. Today we are going to talk about the account security. Okay, overview of account security because it is a basic thing. And then next couple of days we will be talking about the compute power. So as I shown yesterday, we are hope you guys have create able to create a account, that is which means a free tier account with your AWS. Okay, so the second module of this AWS architecting on AWS, which is SASCO3, is account security. Once you got your account, you need to safeguard your account, right? You can't, because your account will be having a many, if that account has been breached to the world, the peoples will may start using it, misuse it. So securing your account is the most important aspect. That is the reason I'm taking the first session of it. Okay, so in your just a poll question, how if you guys are already working with an AWS, you can give answer on yourself how many account has been using by your organization. Okay, so in this module we are going to discuss about the business request as why this is a required, and then we are going to discuss about the principles and the identities and the security policies managing multiple accounts. So today I will be walkthroughing because managing multiple accounts will be a advanced topics. Maybe I will take it in the paid sessions. So I will be talking till security policies and other stuffs. Okay, business request. Yes, security specialist. The question is, a security specialist needs to know what are the best practices to manage access to your AWS accounts and resources. How can we give how can we give user access to only the resource that they need? What is the best way to manage multiple accounts? So three questions as a security specialist is coming and asking you, because you yourself imagine that you are the AWS architect, you want to provide the answer to your manager. Okay, these are the questions. So best practices are to manage access and AWS accounts and resources. How you will be accessing manage accounts, because in organization there will be one account and then many peoples like a developers, testers, analytics team, all those peoples will be using their account, right? So how we will manage within them? For that analytics team person, you want to give restricted access, whereas a developer needs some more privileges compared to the testers and developers. How we will give distinction access to the peoples? And then if your organization is very big, you will not go with a single account, you will be having a multiple accounts which needs to be clubbed together as a single bill. How we will be managed? So these are the three major questions which we are going to answer at the end of this module. Okay, so we will discuss these things, right? So principles and identities, that's the first thing. A special a security specialist asks what are the best practices to manage access to AWS accounts and resources. How we are going to manage your accounts, like multiple accounts, maybe, yeah. Take an example, 5 developers are there in your team. 5 developers needs to have their own account, and then you have to give a restricted access. All those things we will be going to discuss. So I believe yesterday, everyone, I don't know, I asked many of you got asked you to create an AWS account and needs to access it. So when you are creating an AWS account, you will be getting a root user access. So what I was telling is AWS Amazon.com, sign into the console. You will be, oh, sorry, that's my account. Let's sign out. Let's sign out. Okay, this is the root user and then IAM user. So what is this root user? That is the first topic which we are going to discuss. Yeah, root user is a user which you create with your account. When you create user account, right, in the AWS, you would have been used your Gmail ID, email ID to create your user. That user is an root user. Okay, when you create a first when you first create an AWS account, you begin with a root user. This user will have a complete access to all the resources in the account, because that root user is the main user of that account, which will be signing in with your email address and password. That user will be having an all the access. Okay, he will be having each and every bit of access in that AWS account. Okay, so in going forward, when you want to create an additional user, that is where this second option IAM user will come into the picture, which we'll going to discuss. First we'll discuss about the root user. Root user is the user is a higher, like what is a primary user of that account, which will who will be having access for all the tasks. He will be like an administrator of that account. Okay, you will be having all the access. And then, so it is advisable, they are, you should there is a one best practice for the root user is you should not use your root user for day to day life. Though I am using it, don't follow me, I'm just giving a heads up, because I need an administrator access, I can't create multiple IAM users and all. So but in the real time, the root user will not be used for day to day activities. Why? Because root user will be having a complete access for all the resources in case if anyone any hacker or something, because you are dealing within the internet only, right? If your username and password is exposed, then someone can misuse it, because it is having all the accesses, right? It will be, your account will be misused, then you will be getting a fat bill in your account. Okay, so that is the reason AWS suggesting as a best practice that you should not use your root user for day-to-day activities. And then one more best practices is like you have to set up a MFA. What is meant is multiple multi-factor authentication, which we will be because even your username password exposed, there will be a second layer of defense which it will be asking MFA. So they are advising you to set up a multi-factor authentication for your root user. Okay, this will provide the extra layer of security, as I said. So I believe everyone could able to relate. If you would have been able to, if you have already created your AWS account, go back and just try to. I believe many would have been logged in and tried the console. If not, try to use this one. Use a root user and then uh, 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 use provide a root user email ID and then provide your password. Okay, you could able to log in. Oh my god. Okay, just give a second. So yeah, so this is the page where you will be landed by default, which is a home page. Okay, so I believe everyone got the idea. So I'm just moving to the next topic. This is a root user is a very common stuff. Okay, okay, so the next topic which has been uh, particular to this module, which is an IAM. Okay, IAM is an identity and access management. Identity and access management is an one service. Yesterday I told you what is services means. In AWS there will be a there will be around a 200 plus services will be available, and each service has its own stuffs to do, right? IAM is a one service, identity and manage access, identity and access management, which will be providing an access to control your account. Okay, access management stuffs and all will be taking care in this service. Okay, before getting into the access management, users groups and all those things, that this diagram is explaining about how authentication is happens. Okay, so there will be when you are authenticating anything, okay, even if you are an office tool or something, okay, you will be having a two things will be happening. So one is authentication, another one is an authorization. What is the difference between this authentication and authorization? When you are logging to any system, okay, first it will go and check authentication. In this step what it will does means it will verify whether the username and password is correct. In case if you are having an account and then you are trying to log in means, which first it will check whether this user is available or not. If that user is available, then it will check that password which you have passed in that account, that password is matches with this username or not. Both confirms, then authentication is happening. Okay, both it is acceptable, it is a legit user with a proper password. Then the next step will invoke whether he is authorized to for the particular API. Maybe there will be a website in your office, it will be having admin and a normal user. If you are a normal user and if you are trying to access the admin space, then in the second step you will be locked. This particular user is uh, uh, not authorized to perform this action. So then it will return you a 403 forbidden error, which you are in this case if you are getting a 403. Okay, if you get an error code as a 401 means your username password itself wrong, that first step authentication step itself didn't go through. If you are getting a 403, which is means first step your username password is proper, but for your authorization, like you are not authorized to perform this action, you don't have enough permission to perform this action, that is the case. So if these two things happens, then only you will be able to perform that request and all. Okay, IAM is a web service that helps you to securely control access to your AWS resource. Use IAM to control who is authenticated and authorized to to use your resource. Okay, so IAM is a tool to centrally manage access to launching, configuring, managing, and terminating your resources. A user what he want to perform, what he has to perform, all those permissions uh, will be set up in the IAM services only. It is this is a centralized place where you are managing all your users for that account. Okay, I believe everyone clear what is IAM. So using IAM, we will be going to create a multiple users, multiple groups, roles, all those things to restrict the policies, to control your usage of your account, who and where and when, how you want to use your account, who has to use those, all these access control will be set upping it in the IAM. Clear? I believe you guys are follow, we are in the same page. So before getting into create multiple subtopics in the IAM, we will be discussing about the principles, and then we'll get into the roles and uses later. Okay, what is principles? Why I am talking about the principles in the first means, everything is a principle, right? A principal is an entity can request an action or operation on AWS resources. See, here I have logged into the account. If I want to launch an EC2 instance, okay, I'm clicking this moment. This will go under the API call. API call will get generated, and then if I click here, this everything, each and every event is through, works under the API call, and then I am the one performing this action. Okay, I am the principal. I am like as a human, I am the here. I'm using a root user. Keep it as an IAM user or a sub account. Okay, he is the one performing the access. He is a principal. Okay, he is a principal. Or if you are easy to take one service wants to use another service, like maybe EC2 wants to connect with the S3 bucket, which is another service, which means they both need to talk to each other. Then here EC2 is going and asking S3, means here EC2 is in a principal, which is AWS service is in a principal, and then IAM role is a principal or federated user, like federated user, like we'll be having LDPs and all, right? Identity providers like Facebook, all those SAML providers, those are the also called as an users. So principles, what is principle means, the person or role or a service or LDP who is performing an action, who is performing that particular operation is being called as an principal. Okay, it can be either a person, it can be an application, a federated user or assume role. That doesn't mean who initiates that particular operation is called as an is an referred as an principal, either it or person. Okay, because why this principle I'm telling means, when we are writing a bucket policies, we have to mention we have to mention who is going to invoke this action, then where you have to mention the principle. That is why I'm go ahead and at the front itself I'm discussing it. Okay, a principal is an entity that can request an operation or an action or an operation on an AWS resource. Okay, it can be application, as I said, it can be application, person or federated user. I'm just repeating it again. So first topic in IAM is an IAM users, identity and access management user. How I can relate it with the layman office. You have created a new startup company, so you are as you are the CEO of the company. Okay, you decided that you are going to manage your all the services in the AWS itself, like deploying all the application, running all those things. You will be using AWS. You decided. Okay, you created an AWS account, and you are with the root user, and you are the administrator of that account. And then in your team there was a three teams is available in your company. There was a three teams available. One is a developer, tester, and then analytics team. Okay, then you will be creating you want user like the team members wants to use a AWS account, because everything you can't do it, right? You are the CEO of the company, you're just administrator. Creating and all those things has to be performed by the team members, right? Right, in this case, would you able to share your own administrator account with them? It's not a best practice, right? And then if you create one account and it can, if it is been shared with all the five members, means you don't know who does what. Take an example, if they are sharing a single account, you can't track who is doing what and all, right? So these are the overheads are available. That is the reason AWS implement a concept called IAM user. What does that mean is under your root AWS account, you can create a multiple users. Okay. You can create a multiple IAM user. Each IAM user have its as its own username, and like username here it will be IAM things will be there. Your own username and passwords will be available. Okay, and then you can create any number of uh, IAM users. Okay, if you are having a 5 developers, 3 testers, two audit analytics or auditor, okay, you can totally create a 10 accounts and 10 accounts, 10 individual accounts, and then you can give out to their users so they can use their own account for their application development and all. Okay.
Hello, sir. One question here.
Yes, please.
Yeah, suppose we have one project and we have three developers, right?
Yes.
And we have one common bucket, and I want to share the bucket into three developers.
Okay.
And I have the instance, one instance, EC2 instance, and I want to give access only to developer. So can I do this in this?
Yeah, you can do it. So
Okay,
for that, you need to write a particular policies to perform the policies and all. Okay. So if you are talking about that particular EC2 instance, only because if you are going in that way, you will have to write a granular level policies, but it is possible. Okay. It is possible, but you will be you are going to create a very, very granular level policies, but it is a absolutely possible. Okay.
okay. In general scenario, what kind of uh, role will be assigned in the project?
So it is based on the roles, okay, based on the companies, they will be assigning the role. Maybe what happen if you take as a developer, they will be giving a read and write access for the particular service. If he is a tester, he don't need a write access because he's not going to develop, he's just going to test. He will be only given out the read access. We will discuss all those things how to create. Okay, such kind of things you can provide. So it's based on the organization how the administrator is accessing it. It's not like everyone will be follow the same, right? Based on the company requirement, the policies granularity will change. Okay.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So we will create one IAM user by a, and then we will try to set up the policies. Okay. By default, yeah, IAM user, when you are creating an account, by default, root user will have access for everything, right? Root user will be having access for all the services and as I told earlier, everything. But when you are creating an IAM user, you will not have a single permission. Okay, you will not have any permission. You will not have any permission to anything. You have to explicitly set up everything. Okay, by default, a new IAM user has a no permission to do anything. User is not authorized to perform any AWS operations or access any AWS resources. Okay, you have to explicitly add the policies, like policy in the sense permission to that particular users. Then only he or she will able to access that particular resources. The advantage of having an individual IAM users that you can assign permission individually to each users as well. That is the question answer for your question, sir. Okay. So I will go ahead and create one IAM user and I will show you how to do it. So after landing a page, this is a page you will be landing once if you create with the root user and um, IAM. Okay. I am creating it. So in case if you want to set up an MFA for your account, you can set up MFA with authenticator app, all those things. Since I'm don't want to waste the times in the session, so I'm not keeping the MFAs and all for my account. But it is better go ahead and do it. Okay. So one more thing before getting into the IAM user, if you don't have this account alias, I'm just deleting it. Okay. By default, this will be like this in your new account. If you want to log in with your IAM user, you want to provide the account ID. So sometimes it will be difficult. So to remember this 12-digit ID, right? So you can create a alias based on your preference. I am creating Gowtam ABD something in my system. Okay. So instead of remembering this 12-digit account ID, I can remember this account alias. So we can provide it. I will show where we need to provide. Okay. I'm going again and creating a new IAM user. If you see in the left hand side of the page, you will be having a users group. I have already multiple groups. Okay. I'm just deleting this. I don't need anymore. Okay. Okay. You would have not deleted. That's fine. So yeah. So I'm creating a new user. What it is? CDP training something. Okay. CDP training. If you want to provide a management console, what is this here? Management console. This is the management console, right? If you want to provide a management console, or is only access to CLI or CDKs and all means, then you will have to watch it. Okay. Yes. So session has been recorded. It will be provided to you. Okay. So I'm using. I want to provide access to them. So I'm click the checkbox, and then identity center we'll discuss later in the advanced time. I'm going ahead and creating a new IAM user. If you want to auto generate password means you can use this one, or custom password means you can give. I'm just giving an auto generated password right now because I am the root user. I am going to create the account for the my team members, right? And then here I'm clicking a checkbox. So user, when he or she log in for the first time, it will be asking them to change the password. Okay. So go ahead and I'm creating. I'm not going to touch these things now, right now. Okay. That for second tab I will skip right now. Setting permission, we will come back and check it out. I'm creating a new user. Okay. A new user has been created. Okay. Now what you can do means I will go to the another browser. Okay. AWS Amazon.com. Sign into console. This time, instead of logging with the root user, I'm going to log with log with IAM user. If you see here, either you have to provide your account ID 12 digit, or you can provide your alias. So instead of remembering the 12 digit ID, I can remember my alias, right? So it will be easy. That is the reason I kept that alias over there. And then here you need to provide a IAM username. This is a CDP training which I have created, and then password. Okay, I'm copying it and I'm putting it here. I'm click the sign in. Okay, why? That is error. Okay. So if you see, since we enable the checkbox, it is asking to provide a password. Okay. And then I'm not going to share the new password. I'm setting my own password here. Okay. This is the way a developer can have his own password, and then going forward that that user will be only accessed by him, right? Even administrator will not able to access it. What happened? Two password do not match. Okay. This irritating. Sorry. Confirm password change. Not now. Okay. Password has been changed, right? New password has been provided. So take an example now. Since here you can see, right? He doesn't have any access to even view that log or like a bill, all those things, because we know by default a user will not by default user will not have any access. If you see, everything is an API error. You can't do anything. You can't authorize to. You are not authorized to perform, which means he is authenticated but not authorized. Which means first level has been completed. Second level is not allowed to perform the particular operations. Okay, because by default AWS IAM user will not have an access. So we have to provide a uh, permissions to him, right? We have to provide the permission to that IAM user. Okay, so I will go back to my, this is in the Chrome. I am using a to make it verify, like in Chrome I'm using my root user. In the browser I'm using my IAM user. Okay, sorry, in Safari I'm using my IAM user. So you know, right, I have created a new account here. By default we will not we'll have only a policies, which is he doesn't have an action, he doesn't have anything to do perform. Only is allowed to change his password. That is the only permission I have given to him. It is by default it came. Okay, and then what we have to do means next we need to assign a permissions to him before getting an permissions. So these are the three different types, these are the few types of accessing your account. One is which we seen with the AWS management console, where we are putting in a AWS password, username and password. So suppose if you want to connect it via CLI, or you want to connect to the SDKs, or take an example, if you are having a Terraform, I don't know how many of you are aware about Terraform. In case if you are a Terraform, you want to connect the third party tool with your AWS account, means you can't use this username, password and all. There we will be having a programmatic access, which will be defined in the format of access key and secret key. So with the help of access key and secret key only, we will be able to connect with them. Okay, so how to generate a access key and secret key means, under your users, okay, there is a one tab called security credentials. Under the security credentials you will be having a tab called access keys. If you want, you can create a access key and secret key. You can mention what is the purpose of creating this one. You can have a multiple access key and secret key for a single IAM user as well. Okay, so that is absolutely fine. So if you are going to use it with the CLI means, you can choose it, and then they will provide some additional stuff that leave it. Create description CLI, something you can create access key and secret key. So you will be having a access key and the secret key, which will be configured in your CLI or even programmatic access, which will be used instead of using your username password, like a CDP training, that IAM username, and instead of having that password, you will be using this random code access key and secret keys. Okay, you can download it in case if you wish to download, and then keep it, because once if you are miss it, you can't get it. Okay, so keep a download of copy and then keep it here. So that is what, how you will be able to access the account through the program in the programmatic way. Okay, sorry, clear? So as I said, okay, next step, we have created an account and we have created a secret key access key to connect it via programmatic. But by default, it doesn't, that user doesn't have any access to perform, right? What will be the next step? We go ahead and provide the permissions to that particular user, right, to perform certain options. So for that, you will be having one tab called permission. So in the permission tab, we will be providing a particular or very granular, or you can give a high level things, or very granular level things also. You can provide a permission to that policies. Okay, so to allow a IAM user to create or modify resource and to perform a tasks, do the following tasks. What it is means, create or choose the IAM policy grant IAM users permission to access the specific resource and API. Okay, is it, audio is not coming?
Coming, sir. Perfectly.
Okay, Israr was there. Sorry if I spell your name. Please check your audio. Okay, fine. Thanks for confirming, guys. So we will go ahead and will assign a particular permission to that users. Okay, how we will be able to achieve it? So here again we'll be having a different permission policies setups. Okay, okay. So in the permission, if you want to, this user we created, right? By default, when we click the checkbox, you can change. He needs to change the IAM policy, username password means we that permission is being added. Suppose if I want to assign him some more options, take an example. We are discussed about EC2, right? EC that service. He wants to access that EC2. Okay, he wants to access the S3 bucket. How we will add the permission? How much level you want to add the permission? That kind of things we can do. Okay. However, I will explain about the writing our own customized policies later in the detailed sessions. Okay, but here there will be a managed like AWS itself provides certain predefined policies that we are going to assign it. Okay, so how we will be assigned means you can click the tab permission, add permissions. Okay, add a user to group. It I will come back and then I will discuss copy permission if that also I will discuss, and then attach policies directly. Okay, this is a attached policies directly which you will be choosing. There will be a customer managed. This is we will discuss later. You can create your own customized policies and all. I will explain how to create and all later. And then this is a managed job function. Job function in the sense it is a predefined functions which has been created by AWS for uh, yeah, thanks Bhavesh, sorry. uh, Job managed function means maybe I will discuss it later. If I explain also it will not understandable. Maybe a read only access or something if you want to. It's a job very high level. I will explain it later, maybe after elastic beanstalk and all. And then there is one more thing called AWS managed. This is the majorly we'll see 1165 uh, policies has been already written by AWS for us. So we can make use of it instead of writing our own policies. If our requirements met here, we can directly go and use it. So now my I want to assign only a read access. Okay, only a read access, that too only for EC2 to the user which I created. Okay, what I have to do is only what I'm telling is only a easy to read, that to only read only. He can't create a new account or something. Okay, new EC2 instance or something. He will be only supposed to perform read that EC2 instance, that to only a read. So what I can do means I can run type in a EC2 instance, that is my service. If you see, there are for EC2 instance there are lot of predefined policies available. As I said, you can see here full access, read only access is there. I want to give him only a read only access. Okay, only a read only access. I am attaching this permission to him. Click on next. I am adding this one permissions. Okay, now I have added a read only access to them, to that user. If you see, if I perform now, if I refresh this website, that API error is gone, right? Earlier here itself error. If you go inside the EC2 instance, earlier here it shows the information like you are not authorized to perform. But here now we are that user can able to read it. But if he tries to do some like even if there is a one instance I stopped, if he tries to start or something, you will not able to perform. You are getting an error, right? You are not authorized to perform this operation because I given only a read access to him. So what it means, he can read whatever there inside, but he will not able to perform any write operation, update operation, such kind of things he can't do it. And the same way he can't since we given only a AWS access, even if you go IAM, you will be getting an access denied, because right now we given read easy to read only access to that particular user. He or she, that user will be able to perform that particular things alone, okay, not beyond that one. So this is how, in case if you feel that you want to give him a right access, okay, or if you want to give some more access like S3 or IAM, or I will give one more, okay, S3 access also you may not have, okay. So if you feel that you want to add some more permission to that user means, you can go ahead and then buckets, you can go ahead and create, add a permission, okay. Again, attach policies, S3, full access. Again, I'm not read only access, because here also I'm giving only a read level. I'm not giving a read write access to him. Okay, he will not able to create a new bucket or something. He will be only able to view the buckets, existing buckets. Okay, it will be taken in a fraction of minutes. It will come that the policies will be come into the picture. It's not like once you update the policy, you have to wait for a period of time or something. Immediately you will get an access. So but you will not able to create a bucket, because we have created read access. We have provided only read access. Is it clear, guys? Everyone, how to create an IAM users and how to provide an policies to that particular users? I believe nobody have some questions or something. If you have any questions, please ask. Or at the end of session, we will be having a at the end of session we will be having a Q&A. That time also you can, in case if you have any doubts, you can ask. Okay, I'll keep it here so to avoid the stuffs. Okay, shall we move to the next topic? So the next topic, now we have created an IAM user. Okay, I have created a new user. I will be creating one more user. Okay, so is an another developer. Okay, is another, is like, take an example, as I said, is a one more developer which is having in our team. Okay, I'm creating CDP training one something. I'm not going to change at all these things. uh, I'm not going to deal anything with this account, but just I'm creating another account. So in case, since he is another one more developer, we need to assign a policies, whatever the policies having the developer one is a developer two, needs to get the policies of developer one. So instead of going and attaching it again and again, you can copy permission from, this is a user as user, right? You can click on that copy permission user, and then you can click it. You will be able to have access of all those things. Okay, whatever the access the developer one had, the same policies will be given to this user as well. If you go inside, this permission is there, same, right? We don't need to again add it again and again. That is the use of that second tab, copy permission. You can copy a permission from any user to another user. Okay, clear? It's everything is fine. Suddenly what happened, you created a new you have created a new application. For that, you are need to assign a new policies to all your developers. Take an example. Now we want to provide an easy to full access, because they are developing it. They need a some more privileges like a read and all they need. That case means you have to provide a read access to them. Then what you have to do means, you here we have only a two developers, you can manually write it, it's not big deal. But take an example, you are having a 100 users, and in the 100 users you need to change the policies. Okay, having 100 developers and changing a policies one by one is very difficult, right? It will be very difficult. So instead of that one, you can group them. Okay, you can group them and put it into the particular group and assign a policies to that particular group. Means the users under the group will able to get it. Okay, this is how the groups will be coming to the picture. Assign a IAM user to an IAM user group, attach a policies to an IAM user group to apply all the users within that group. Okay, so when you are having a group and inside the group you will be having a multiple users, when you assign certain policies to that particular group, means the users who are all under that group will inherit that policies to their account. Okay, so where I stopped, yeah. When you apply your policies to that particular group, all the users under that particular group will inherit that policies and they will be using it. So it is very easy, right? Instead of applying your policies to 100 users one by one, and instead of having all those people together in one group, and then if you assign the policy, all the users will be able to inherit those properties. This is where this IAM user group will come into the picture. So the one more thing is, yeah, single user can be in a multiple groups as well. Okay, a single user, it's not like one user has to be in a one group, like not like that. Yeah, a user can be in more than one user group, so he will inherit the property of both the group. Maybe in one group they have given access to particular services for take an example, 5 services. In another group he is access for the 5 resources, means he will be able to access those 10 services as a lead. Take an example, developer, uh, tester and auditor we discussed, and there is a one person who is a lead of the team. That lead has to get the permission of all these services. Maybe he's not administrator of the account, okay, but what these three groups under his team, what are all the permissions that three groups is having, all the permission he or she needs to have it, that team lead has to have it. So you can be in the multiple group and you can inherit all the permission from the all the three groups as well. So that is the one thing, right? How to create a groups means, there is a left hand side, go ahead and create a group. uh, Auditor, developer, security, I will deleting these groups. Okay, in the developer group I think already one person auditor is there. Okay, I'm creating one more new group, CDP CDP network, sorry, CDP developer group something. Okay, we know these two peoples are developers of the CDP group. Okay, you can directly add these peoples. Okay, and then you can create, if you wish to add a policies, you can add a policies. We'll discuss later how to add the policies. So now these two peoples are I'm just deleting this group and all. Okay, so now in this group we have a two users, and then currently we didn't assign any group permissions. So what are all the permissions they are having in the group? They're have from their particular user, what are all the permissions they have, they're still having it. From the group perspective, if you go inside the user, that user will be having only access of EC2, S3 and IAM user change. Other than that, because from the group we didn't any add. Now I will add some permission to that group. Okay, attach policies. What I'm going to add means, I'm going to add a IAM access. Okay, IAM read only access, or read only access I'm adding. This is I'm adding to my developer. Now if I refresh my developer page, if you see what, okay, if you see from the group, okay, he's in a, okay, why it is not attached to policies, nothing is, it's not refreshed. Okay, if you see, that particular user got the access of it from the group CDP developer. Since he is associated to the group, he is getting that policies. If I now go ahead and check test that in our website, he will be, he or she will be having that user will be having an access of read. He may not able to create. Earlier it was throwing in error here, right? Access denied, all those things. Now he will be able to read it, but he can't create a new user and all because we provided read access alone. But he will be able to view the roles and policies, all those things are available. Clear, guys? So this is how the root this is how the group will be working. Okay, you will be having a multiple groups. In case the best way to learn these things, in case if you are having an existing AWS account like in your office or something, if you are having an IAM, if you are having an access, just log in into that account and view how they are grouped. They will be in better way. There will be advanced concepts will be involved like organization, SCPs, all those things. But just try to log into the account and understand how they are grouped and all changes and all. Okay, so I believe everyone understand IAM users and IAM um, IAM groups. If you guys have any doubts, please let me know. I'm starting with the another concept which is called IAM roles. So I believe nobody having any doubts. So I'm starting with the roles. Okay. What is IAM roles? Roles is like a it is like a temporary credential living life like that. Take an example. We are creating a users. We created a groups. These are all been given to the IAM user which you are created. But you want either it can be mostly roles will be used with services. Take my EC2 wants to connect with S3. My EC2 wants to connect SQS. There will be multiple services are there, right? Service to service, if you want to connect means, because both services are independent to each other, like it will not directly having access at all. You have to provide a permission to them. So what it does mean means, there we will be giving the roles. We will be creating a roles, and then we'll be attaching that role with the service, or if you want to assume that role with the users also, that is absolutely fine. But in maximum in the industry standard, roles will be used with the services maximum to delegate the permission for that service to access the other service. What it does means, it will take that role and it gets a temporary credential, like temporary credentials, like to access the service, and it will access, and then once that job is done, it will be remove the roles. Okay, it is this is maximum will be using with the services. And certain times peoples, if you want to give a cross account, maybe you will be having some details in your account, but you want to give the access to the outside of your account, maybe from different AWS account to this account. If you want to give means, you can create a role, or you can create you want to create a temporary access, then you can, with all this help of these things, you can uh, as a temporary things, you will be giving creating a role and then giving that access to the others. Okay, so when you are assuming the role, suppose if you are already an IAM user, but for as a temporary access, you are assuming that role for accessing certain services. That time, what are all the permission prior to this role you are having with the IAM policies, like IAM user or group, you are having certain policies, right? Those all the things you will be give up. That's what will be discussed in this role. Okay, as a Shirley is belong to, Anna is belong to group analyst. In this group analyst, they may have access for certain services, but as a temporary, when they are assuming this dev app one role means, they will lose all the permissions which is given from the group or from the users. They only will be having access for this, but only will have access what are all the things are defined in this roles. That is the reason I'm telling, roles will be not usually used with the IAM users and all. At max, only used with the services, or you want to given a cross account access, or some auditors are coming for checking in your company from outside of your organization. Such an instances only we will be using an access. As a day-to-day life, you will be using IAM roles with the services. Okay, I believe I made a sense. So roles also will be creating in the same way here. We'll be having already predefined roles, and then if you want to create your own role means you can go ahead and create it. So here you will be telling who is the principal. Okay, EC2 to S3 bucket, or as a IAM user to someone from this AWS account is the user. Web identity is a principal who is going to invoke, perform this who is going to take up this role, who is going to take up this role. That is what here we are mentioning. I'm just creating example. Okay, if you want to give access to other AWS account means you will be giving access here. Okay, their AWS account, MFA, all those things. SAML means you can create a SAML custom trusted policy, all those things. I'm just as an example, I'm creating in a one is EC2 or something. My EC2 instance wants to access uh, what it is, it needs to access SQS or something. Okay, SQS is the one service which we'll discuss later. I want to access the SQS service, my EC2 instance during runtime, because during the runtime you can provide a username password, right? So my EC2 instance needs to access the SQS. Sorry, I am giving a SQS policies, and then role name EC2 to SQS, like that, anything you can give. So while creating an EC2 instance, there is an option to I assume a role for EC2 instance. That time, if this role has been added to that particular EC2 instance, means that EC2 will be able to access SQS. Yeah, otherwise EC2, if it tries to access the SQS, means it will get in an error like a 403 unauthorized, you are not performed to operation, like that you will get. So those kind of use cases we will be using a IAM roles. Okay, so it will be coming handy when two you services needs to contact to each other. Clear? So this is underlying how the role is working. Okay, there is a one service is called an STS, that is the one main major role will play here. What happens when you are an IAM user or AWS service or a federated users? Here we, as an example, we created EC2, right? When EC2 wants to connect to SQS, what happens before reaching to SQS? With that AWS service will go to STS. Okay, STS, I want to access the SQS service, could you please provide access? Then this STS will analyze your role access, that permissions and all assigned to that role. It will analyze the role. In case if that role has provided access to access the S3 bucket or SQS, it will provide it will return a response with the temporary security credential to access that particular resource. And then with the temporary security credential, it will go and access the resource. In case this, in this privileged access role, STS finds that this role doesn't have an access for accessing this resource, means it will provide a 403 unauthorized thing, and then that particular services will not be able to access the uh, other services. Okay, this is how underlying happening. These are things we can't see in the process or something where you can capture. Underlying in the APIs, these are the things are happening in the background. Okay, everyone is clear how role is working? So with this slide, I will be giving a 2 minutes break. We will come back and we will discuss about the securities policies. Okay, because I feel throughout the 2 hours no one can concentrate. So while you are assigning a policies, how we will be assigning? Okay, when you are creating an IAM user or a IAM group, you will be assigning. When it is policies, when it is a role, you will have to go and assume it. Okay, AWS resources or some AWS resources, they have to assume this role. But whereas in the first case, policies will be assigned to the users. It's a very weird slide, but it's just giving a heads up how these things is working. IAM provides you tools to create and manage all type of IAM policies. That is what we will going to discuss in the security policies. How we going to create the security policies, how the evaluation happens, all those things we will be discussing it later. Okay, In the first half we discussed how to create the principles, either it is a user, group, role, all those things we created. Now in the second half we will going to discuss how to assign the policies, how the validations happens, all those things we will be discussing it. Okay, clear guys? I believe I'm taking 2 minutes bio break, you can take it. Okay, we'll come back.
Okay. Okay.
Time 5 minutes is fine.
Two
So time
minutes.
2 minutes is enough. Okay. So we'll be starting again 11:05. Okay. If you have want to take a drink, like a water or something, you can take it. Okay. We will be coming back. So yeah, guys, I believe everyone is back. Okay. I think you guys have a coffee or something. Let's continue the session. So in the first half, we have discussed how to create an users, how to create a roles and all those things, right? In the session of we will be setting up the policies, how we have created we have assigned certain policies to the users, but those are all the managed policies which has been provided by the AWS, right? So here we want we can create our own policies, and before after creating own policies, how to set up those policies, like how the evaluation is happening, all those things we will be discussing in next half 40 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A session, and then with that we'll ending this today's session. Okay, so policies types. So this side green color I'm not going to take now, because that is in a higher the next level of advanced security stuffs. So I am not going to take this in the free thing, we will be discussing it in the paid versions. Okay, this side we will be going to create and we will be going to discuss now. Okay, your policy, what is a policies? Your policy is attached to an identity or a resource, which is a role, to define its permission, right? When before we are assigning a policies to a user, here that user is not by default, IAM user will not have any access, right? Once after we assigned certain permissions to that user, then only you will be able to perform that operation and all. So in this diagram, policies are responsible either setting a maximum permission or granting permission. Setting a maximum permission, it is like an organization level permission boundaries. It is a maximum level of permission you are going to give that for the particular resource that we will be setting up in the organization level SCPs or permission boundaries. Whereas a grant permission is like a what the permission you are going to give for that particular IAM user, or that is identity based policies which we discussed, which we have seen earlier. There's another one is called, which is a resource based policies. We will take it further now. Okay, what permissions you are granting aggregately, like that it will be there. So we will be in the next of 30 minutes or 25 minutes we'll be discussing grant permissions. Okay, so policies types is IAM identity based policies. That policies is been attached, managed or inline policies. That's what we did actually. Managed policies which we attached to my IAM users, right? This is a IAM users. We have attached the policies here, which is mentioned as an AWS manage. If you want to create an inline policy, we will be creating it early now. So these are the called as a managed policies, which has been attached to the identity based, which is a IAM roles, users and groups. These are all called as identity based. We have attached the managed policies or inline policies, which we didn't do. We'll do it in further. And then resource based policies is that, like, we will be, instead of writing a permission at the identity to the user or the group or the role, you can write the policies at the resource level. What it does mean is, how I can relate it to the layman term. Instead of as an administrator, I am giving a permission to user to access the particular resources. That is I am identity based policies. Okay, I'm giving the user as administrator, I'm giving the access to the user, and he or she can able to access that particular resource. The other way what I can do means I can set up the permission at the resource level. Okay, this at the resource level I can tell, okay, this is the only user needs able to access it. At the resource level I can restrict. If I have set up in the resource level based policy only user A has to use it, means user B tries to access that particular resource, means that person will not able to access it. Okay, at the resource level you are setting up the policies, means that is a resource based policies which we will try to create it in this session. Okay, SCPs is like a, it's advanced custom. When you have a too many accounts you will be creating a SCPs organization SCPs, and OU levels we will be discussing, it will be discussed later. Okay, what is identity based policies? In the sense, attach or manage policies at the identities in the sense users, roles, and groups. Here we attach the, when we are creating an IAM user, right, we attach to the policies, right, at the user level or at the group level we attach the policies, right? This kind of different things we will be called as an identity based policies. That's what we discussed. Resource based policies we didn't discuss, I will do it later. Okay, the policies which have been attached at the at the users, roles, and groups, these kind of things is been called as identity based policies. Identity having that policies. Okay, permission boundaries again an advanced concept, like maximum permission you will be going to give. This is also we'll take it later. So with these two we will discuss in today's session. Okay, granting permission, this is what I told you, right? Maximum permission I didn't, this side I'm talking. Identity based policies are assigned to users, groups, and roles. That's we discussed. Resource based policies are assigned to resources, like for a particular S3 bucket, for a particular SQS, like that. In that particular, for the particular service or particular thing, they are, you are assigning some policies. That is a resource based policies. Resource based policies are checked when someone tries to access the resource. So if user A is being restricted explicitly, okay, user A should not use my bucket, like that. If I return the policy at the bucket level, means that person will not able to use this. I will show it how it is. Okay, identity based policies are again a JSON permission policies that can control which action can IAM identity user or group or role can perform, on which resource they can perform this action, under what conditions they perform this action. This is what we did, right? We attach the policies to the users, and then what level we did, either we given a read access. So if is if we given since we given a read access, that user is only able to perform the read stuffs, not on a write things, right? That is what happened, right? So that is how it will go, which action that user needs to perform on which resources we given. This user needs to perform a read action on my EC2 instance, like that we perform it, right? These kind of granularity we have used managed policies which are already created by AWS. We can also create our own policies. I will explain how to create it. Okay, by default, types of identity based policies is like a service access, job function, and custom policies already I discussed, right? Service access, which we used predefined AWS managed policies, which are already created in place and we can directly use it, or you can create your own customized policies. That's what we are going to do. You can create your own customized policies and you can attach it to the users. Okay, and inline policy is directly what is means, if you want to attach the particular policy to the particular user or group or role, instead of creating under the policies tab, you can directly create. If you see here, that permission is, there is an option create inline policy. If I create some policies and attach it to that one, means this will be particular to this user. You can't use that policies with the other users and all. That is what inline policies, which is so particular to that particular user or group. Okay, So inlace policy cannot, that's what I'm told, right? Inlace policy that you create directly embedded to your IAM group user or role that can't be reused to the other resources. That is one things are available. As a best practice, always try to create a customer managed policies instead of inline policies. Okay. So we will create an custom policies now. First we will create the identity based policies. So how to create it means go here, policies tab, create policies. So what policies, either you can write it with the visual format, and if you are very good with the JSON writing means you can go ahead and write a JSON. Okay. Or you can generate import policies from somewhere else. All those things you can do. So here you want this is how we will be creating. So these are the things will be available in the policies. Okay, if you open a JSON version, which is the version, and then under the statement you will be having SID, statement ID, effect, action, and resources. These are the major building blocks while you are creating in a policies. Version, you know, use this version date to use all the, it's a default stuff, you don't need to do. Statement is a block where it will be open. Effect, so this is the major stuff on the policies. Effect means whether you are allowing or denying it. Okay, there is a two option will be there. It's allow or a deny. In this policy, if suppose I want to, instead of writing in a allow, I want restrict this particular user having a access. Maybe okay. Example, okay, asset is from the developer, is having an access to uh he will be having access for an EC2 instance and all those things. But in the out of 10 developers, one developer I want to restrict. In this case, if I go and add it the things in the group means it will give a it will give a bad impression. It will not, it will be applicable for all the developers as well. In that case, I can create an using an inline policy. What I can do means in the inline policy I can deny it. Like I can deny to use that permission. So that is where this deny will come. Whether you are allowing or denying, that you need to define. Okay. Action, what kind of action? If you for particular service is, there will be multiple options. Okay, multiple stuffs will be there. Whether he is allowed to stop, or he is allowed to do start, or he will be able to do particular everything. Okay, like that you can, what kind of action he wants to perform, that you can define. So resources, on which resources, which EC2 instance, like someone has asked, right? Condition, which EC2 instance, like that you can create that on the resource. You can define a conditions. Okay, that condition means anything, that username should be in with this thing. Like that you can write multiple conditions as well. These are the options you will be getting while you are creating an identity based policies. Okay. Yeah, if you see the major stuffs when you are analyzing a policies: effect, action, resources. These are the building blocks actually. Whether that user is allowed or denied, what on which action, and resources. Condition majorly, it will not be available for all the policies, but these three are the mandatory stuffs should be in the, you should be there in the policies. Okay, clear? So I will be creating one policies. I'm using a visual EC2, which we know, because I can't use other stuffs, right? Like we may not. So I'm creating the policies now. First I chosen the if you go for a JSON now, EC2, this is my service. Okay, on EC, all EC2, on all EC2 action, or you want to add it very granular. Okay, if you want to have only for particular EC2 instance or something, if you want means you can do it, or you can give all EC2 actions. All EC2 actions in the sense, okay, whether that particular user is, see how granular you can create a policies. Okay, you can very much granular, he can be list only this attribute, only this attribute, like that you can create it. In general, if you want to give only a list access means, read access means you can give a list read, or if you want to provide a write access means you can write. Like that you can choose it each and every level. Okay, you can choose each and every level. I believe mostly people will not give so much granular because it will confuse the policies. They will be giving either a read or write format. Okay, otherwise it will be a full access, not for the particular, like they will be going and choosing this kind of things. They won't, in general maximum won't do. But if you have such a use cases, you can do it as well. That's what my point is. So I'm giving all EC2 actions. Okay, these are all the actions is going to perform. Suppose if you want to specify a particular resources, maybe you will be having 100 EC2 instance, as someone asked a question, right? You may have a, okay, we'll be having a particular EC2 instance, you want to restrict means you can write this policy particular for the particular EC2 instance means you can provide that ARN. Usually ARN will be called as an Amazon resource name. Each EC2 instance or whatever S3 bucket will be having its own ARN. You can provide that ARN here if you want very particular about that particular EC2 instance or something. Or else if you want to apply this concept for all the EC2 instances, go ahead and do it all. In case if you want to specify any condition, the user that request should come from this particular IP, or this sky should be like username should be like that. If you want to particular condition means you can request the condition, or you can go ahead and next, and then you can give a policy name EC2 full access for CDP, like that I'm giving. Okay, CDP. And then if I give create policy means, okay, I think there should be no spaces. Create policies, and then a new policies has been created. What I can do means, now the CDP developers till now they have only a read access, right? They don't have a write access and all. They have only a read access, read only accesses. Now I want to provide a CDP to the since now full access I created my own customized access, right? Now what I can do means I can go to my permission tab at the use group level. I can add a policies, attach policies. Here I can check what we given CDP, right? Customer managed EC2 full CDP, right? If I open here, you could able to see a, okay, I will come back this one. I will show this one. I'm attaching these policies. I have attached it to my users, to my group. So since it is attached to the group, users will also able to inherit it. I'm going to one of the group. If you see, there is a read only access and then EC2 CDP that is coming from the group. If I open the policies here, if you see how the policy is been created, since he is allowed to describe here read only access, right? He is allowed to describe all the resources. He is allowed to describe all the resource ELB resources, auto scaling, everything in the described format, which means which is having only read access. Here if open, everything is allow. Okay, everything is an allow. Effect is allow. What is the action? This action on all the resources, like that is given. If I open hours means on all the resource, all the action is been performed. That is what this wildcard will come into the picture. Okay, this wildcard means in the EC2 I have given here, it is only a describe action. Here in the EC2 you will be having all the actions. Okay, that is the differences. In the EC2 instance, all the actions he can perform on all the resources. Its effect is allow. Suppose if I denied means here it will become as a deny. Okay, so this is how you will be writing a policies. Okay, what I will do means I will edit these policies further. You will be, we will come back again and see how this policy is changing. Okay, this is our policies, right? I'm going to edit. Okay, again I'm using a add more permission. I'm giving an a S3, sorry, what SNS. In the SNS, I'm going to give only a list or something. Don't think of what is SNS and all. Just understand how the policies I'm creating. Only I'm going to give read and list, not write permission on all the resources. Okay. If I want to specific, I have to add ARNs. What I can do is I can add it. I have some notifications. Yeah, here it will be there is a ARN, right? This is a unique ID for each resources. Amazon will be adding this account. It's in the region of any region. Topic name. Okay. Add ARN. So only this particular for the particular resources that to read access I'm giving. Okay. Now if I go back and view this policy here means if you see how the policy will be there. If I want to show it in the 3DP training, I'm user. So the same policy, how it will be changed, you can see now. See, because we are given at the granular level, right? I am allowing for the SNS topic list, and then I'm allowing a read, and then below it will be there. Okay. So this is how we are writing our policies and all. So understand the policies in the exam perspective as well as in the exam or when you are going in your usage. Understanding while you are seeing a policies, you need to understand what is been allowed or what has been um, denied. All those things you have to understand. Okay, clear, guys? Everyone. So if you see here, EC2 is been allowed, all these things is been allowed. Here the same some extra has been allowed. So this is how it will be create policies will be creating. If you want to add some more things means you can add this permission and then automatically it will be applied since it is applied in the group. Automatically it will be applied to my users as well. So when you are checking for the identity based policies, you want to think about the effect, action and resource and the condition. Suppose I want to restrict. I don't want to mention. I for this particular user should not use my SQS. Okay, should not use my SQS like that. I am explicitly denying it at any cost. They should not use means I can go ahead and give a action deny all SQS and then all things. S next if I give means the peoples will be denied to use the particular SQS things. Okay, so explicit deny and allow two services. So this is how you will be writing a policies for allow or deny, what perform our action, everything will be defined in the policies. So please aware about the terminologies inside the policies. This will come handy when you in the exam perspective as well as in the real time. Clear? So these are the just theories again what we discussed. So this section allow from a policy allow access. If you are allowing means you are putting it as an allow. If you are denying it means you will be denying it. Okay. So how policies evaluated? This is the most important slide everyone should be understanding. And with that, I will be resource based policy. I will be closing. Okay. When you are creating an as I said, when we are logging into the AWS account, I told right first authentication, after that authorization will happen. In the authorization step, first it will check is there anything explicitly denied. Okay, in our case we denied explicitly, right? SQS. First it will check is there any explicitly denied in the policies. In case if there is any explicit deny means directly that resource will be denied without any checking and all. Suppose is there is no explicit deny, it will check is there action is been allowed. In our case we have not explicitly denied EC2 instance and S3 bucket and all, and then it will go and check in the whether this for that particular user or to perform S3 or not? Is there any explicit allowed is there? Yes, I allowed S3, but only read access. So that read access will be allowed. Rest of the things will be implicitly denied. Okay. Am I making sense? First, it will check, is there any explicit deny? If it is been denied, there is no further steps. It will denied. If there is no explicit deny, it will check, is there explicitly allowed? Is there any action allowing? If they are allowing, that particular action will be allowed. Rest of the things will be denied automatically. That's what we seen in, right? The first time when we are creating account, we didn't deny anything explicitly, but what happened means it will denied automatically, because at the time it would be checked, is there anything explicit denied? Nothing. But is there any explicit action allowed? No, nothing is action allowed. So all those things has been denied. After we are attached the policies, we have allowed particular user, we have allowed to use particular services, means at the time also we don't have any explicit deny. So he or she is able to use S3 bucket and EC2 instances, because we allowed policies that to only read access. Those kind of permissions are allowed, but other permissions like creating those things has been denied, because it comes under the implicit deny. The third time we added explicitly denied for SQS, even though it is allowed at any level to access S3 or bucket. Take an example. This is group level. I added SQS denied. In the user level, for a particular user, if I go ahead and uh, add a permission like a S3 policy, full access or access or something. Okay, even I add a full policies to that particular user, right? He will not able to access it, because at the first it will check at any level the policy, any of the denies happen, because in my group level I denied the SQS. Even at the user level he is having a full access, he will not, he is still not, that user is still not able to access the SQS, because deny having higher uh, privilege compared to the allow. Okay, so this is how the IAM policy will be evaluated. So in the exam perspective, they will give a snippet like this. What like this? They will give us some snippets and ask the question that particular user is allowed or not. Like kind of questions you may expect. Okay, so be aware about it. So these are all the policies which we discussed. Is a identity based policies where we are doing all these things. Means if you closely seen, everything we are doing at the IAM tab. At the user level, roles level, we are creating a policies and attaching the policies to users, roles or groups. So these are all the things are called as an identity based policies. Suppose if you want to create the policies at the resource level, means you, it will be called as a resource based policies. Okay, yeah, resource based policies are attached to a single resources such as S3 bucket or a lambda function. You don't may not know aware about all these things. At the resource level, if you want to create the policies, means you will be creating at the for the particular bucket or particular topic or particular queue or like that. For particular resource you want to create some policies, means you can create. Okay, on top of additional there is be one line extra. If you see, able to see, right? Principle. You are telling this principle is a user principle is allowed or denied. Okay, for the particular principle you are allowing or denying or something. If you want to perform is, it will be like that. Okay, so this we will be have a hands-on during our maybe when we are creating lambda functions or something, right? That time we will discuss in detail how it will come into the picture, and how crucial it is when you are writing a, why we need to write a resource based policy when we are integrating 2 3 services and all. We will discuss. Even now I'm just telling as a theory here what it has means at the resource level you will be setting a policies. Okay, this user, this service, because we know what is principle, the action who is performing that particular action is called as a principle. You are setting up things like who is allowed to do perform these things and so such things for that particular resource level be able to write it. That is called as a resource based policies. Okay, we will have a detailed discussion during at the end of the sessions. Okay, so defense in depth. So this is how user, as a user, you want to do this kind of things, means you will be doing this kind of you all these things will be evaluated. Okay, so as a user, first, if you are going with the IAM policy or role, it's fine. If you are going with the role, this S3 endpoint is later we can discuss. These are the places you can set up the policies. This level, this way we'll discuss later, because you have to understand what is VPC endpoint bucket policies on those. We will discuss this way. First, it will go and check IAM policies, whether that particular user is allowed or not, and then it will leave this topic. Bucket policies, whether is there any particular deny or not, it will evaluate. If both is been accepted, then you will be able to access whatever things are available in your bucket. Is, as I said earlier, this is the slide very important in evaluating the policies. If there is any at the any level there is one deny, means absolutely you will not the user will not able to access it, because deny will have the higher privilege compared to the allow. Okay, fine guys, so these are things we will discuss in the later. Okay, these are the very basic stuffs of the AWS account security. Okay, I will be opening a Q&A for a thing. If you are having a doubts, please post it. We can, I will try to answer all the questions. First 5 minutes to 10 minutes we will discuss about the services and all, and then we'll take it about course related questions. We will take it later. Okay, yes, sir, will take the questions. If in today's topic, if you are having any doubts, please post it. Any doubts, guys? So I'll just give a recap so you will be able to understand. Okay, so I will just give a quick recap, and then we will go with the Q&A. Sorry, I posted Q&A in a group. I will just give a quick recap, so I will just summarize what we discussed. So initially we discussed what is principal. So principal is like the entity which is performing action. Before that, we discussed about the root user. The root user is the account, is the administrator account which has been created with the things. Okay, and then we have discussed about authentication and authorization. Difference between authentication and authorization we described. So how for what is 401 and 403. 401 will be applicable in the authentication if your username and password is fails to match, and authorization will check your permission stuffs. And then we discussed about the principal. A principal is the one who is invoking, performing that particular action. It can be either a user, a service, a IAM role, or a LDP, all those federated users. And then we started with IAM user. IAM user is the user subset user in the account, which we can provide a particular access. We can we can have multiple accounts and we can provide access and all. So IAM user can be accessed with the help of management console, as well as with the access key and secret key. It can be accessed via through the programmatic access as well, that we discussed. Then we discussed about the policies, how by default, as we know, IAM user will not able to access the anything. You have to provide what set the permission to the IAM users, right? So then we discussed about IAM groups, how to group the users, because setting the policies for each user sometimes may go over it. So we will be setting the policies at the group level. It will be inherited to the users who are in this group. And then went again, we discussed about the roles. The roles majorly will be used for cross account access or services. All those things we discussed. And how assuming a roles we discussed, like STS again we discussed. And then we discussed about the security policy categories. We discussed only grant permission, where we discussed about IAM identity based policies and IAM resource based policies. In identity based policies, we have discussed AWS managed and then custom policies. the how to create the custom policies we have discussed. Effect, what is the things are available in the identity based policy, like effect, action, resource, and condition, how we can set up those things to the users. And then we discussed about the explicit delay and allow, how the policies will be evaluated. This is, as I said, this is the most important side where deny will be taking the precedence over the allow. So you have to check, is there any deny? It's suppose if you are not able to access a particular user or something, even it is attached allowed to you, you have to check, is there any particular explicit deny is applied to your user or not. If there is, then you have to troubleshoot in that way. And then we discussed about the resource based policy. As though we didn't see any hands on, we will take it further in the future sessions. Okay, how to will come handy. And then this is the one slide, how the level of defenses we happen. Okay, so these are the things we discussed. Hope implicit denied and explicit denied. Okay, I will tell you.
Hello.
Yes, yes,
I,
sir.
I request everyone to please give us the Google review on the feedback. Send the Google review form.
Yeah, Srinu, Siru, sorry if I spell your name wrong. Okay.
My name is Riaz actually. I'm the founder of CDP. I'm requesting everyone to please give us the Google feedback. I share the Google feedback link on the chat box.
Yeah, Tim, please give a feedback, that will be very useful for us to improve ourselves. So I will take the questions. In meantime, please everyone give a feedback on the provided link. It will help us to improve ourselves, and will understand the expectations from yourself as well. So the question, the answer to your questions, Srivandi. So if you see implicit denied in the sense, I am, as this slide explains, right? I think, I believe I explained. I will be explaining once again. So when we created a first time the user, we didn't assign any permission policies to the user. At the time, by default, that permission, how it will be means, it will check for the user, is there any action allowed. At initially we didn't attach any permission policies to the user. So all the since it's nothing is allowed, everything will be denied implicitly. Okay, we have, because he is not allowed to perform any action, all the action by default will get even though it's we didn't mention anything about denying or something, by default it will be denied all the accesses. That is called as an implicit deny. Explicit deny is, we will be writing explicitly, okay, don't allow this particular user, like in the policies we will be setting up as a deny. Okay, we will be setting up a policy. I know in the group you can see, right, we have written one policies permissions. So this is what explicit deny. Here in the effect, we are explicitly denying that permission to that user. In case, take an example, if I didn't use this policy, right, I am not explicitly allowed the particular user to use a SQS. By default, that user will be denied. That is a implicit deny. Okay, did I answer your question? Yes, thanks. Any other question, guys? About the today's discussion, we will taking Q&A for other things. So meantime, please everyone give the review. It will be helpful, as I said earlier. So I'm here for next 5 minutes. Like we will be taking the questions about the session, today's session. If you have any questions, please post it. So in case if you guys doesn't have any doubts, so please yesterday we have the sessions which will be recordings will be available. You can watch it out in case if you are not joined yesterday. Please go through the today's session as well. The same time, the next week we will be having again a free training. We will be discussing about the EC2, that the word service EC2 which I used more. I'm going to take a session on EC2 for as part of free training tomorrow. Okay, sorry, not tomorrow, in the sense next weekend at the same time, next Saturday, which is I don't remember the date. Next Saturday at 10 a.m. Okay, okay, please join with us. We will be go on 9 sorry, thanks sir. On 9th March we will be conducting a session on EC2 instance at 10 a.m. Please join with us. It's right, and get learn about the EC2 instance, right guys? It is again a free training for the next week as well, so please join without any hesitations. So we will be here to take your questions. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. So yeah, please join next week. Don't forget, it is same time. Okay, 10 a.m. on 9th of March. Please join the session and we will be discussing about the EC2 instance. Thank you guys. Thank you all for joining today. We will be meeting the next week. Happy weekend to everyone.